Alexis Nunes alongside Rob Dawson outside of Old Trafford, where it was a very interesting result, Rob. One that you called right. You did say this is the type of game that you do see Manchester United winning. Call it right. Before we talk about the game, though, we did see some scenes in terms of the protests that we saw outside. A lot of the signs protesting against the ownership of the Glazers. What did you think about that, and what kind of message or action do you expect after that?
Well, in terms of action, I don't think the Glazers will do anything because it's something that they've seen so many times before. But I just think it's about Man United fans keeping up the pressure. There have been these protests sporadically over the years. Big protests that have caused a lot of news, a lot of headlines, and then it's kind of disappeared and dissipated a little bit. The aim now is just to keep the pressure on. They want to remind the Glazers that they don't want them as owners anymore, that they want a new owner. They want that to happen sooner rather than later. And it's not just about Liverpool. Obviously, there's a lot of tension because it's a Liverpool game. It's about carrying it on again and again and again. And this will be scenes like this at Old Trafford for most of the home games this year. It's about constant pressure and just reminding the Glazers again and again that they want a change of ownership.
And like you said, these are not new scenes. We have seen protests before. We saw some of them, or a lot of them actually, last season. Do you feel like, from what you're hearing, that it's going anywhere?
Possibly. I mean, we don't hear much from the Glazers. I think it's important to say that straight off the bat. They're very quiet. They don't communicate particularly well. But there is a sense maybe that this is drifting towards a conclusion that the United fans want to see. Obviously, you'll have seen last week Sir Jim Ratcliffe, one of the richest men in the UK, kind of suggesting that he may be interested in buying Man United. And that's really the kind of thing that United fans want to hear. For years and years, United fans have begged for new owners, but there's not really been anyone really who could afford to take them on. And now you've got a guy, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who has got the funds, he has got the money. If the Glazers come to the table and want to talk, it is entirely possible that he could come and buy the club. Again, it relies very heavily on the Glazers wanting to do that. At the moment, we're told the club is not for sale, and until that changes, nothing really is going to change here in terms of ownership. All
right, well, let's talk about the match itself, because a lot of giddy Man United fans walking around here at Old Trafford, even at this time of night. A result that I mentioned, you predicted. You did say this is the type of game that you could see Man United winning. What impressed you the most about how they went about it today?
It was night and day from Brentford last weekend, and that's one of the reasons why I felt that maybe United would get something here, because United couldn't possibly be that bad again. I've watched United for a number of years, and that's probably the worst game of football I've ever seen them play, and that says something given what's gone before them. I just thought the reaction was spot on not in terms of technical ability perhaps or the quality that was on show, just in terms of effort. The amount they ran, the pressing, all the things that Ten Hag said he wanted to see after that Brentford game were all there against Liverpool, and it paid off. Obviously, it's important to say that Liverpool weren't at their best. They're also enjoying a difficult start to the season. But United did their job perfectly, really. The game plan worked, the changes that Ten Hag made worked, and he got a response after Brentford, and really, after what happened at Brentford, that was massive.
And it's always important to look at the individual performances, and naturally people gravitate towards the goal scorers as well. Marcus Rashford getting on the score sheet as well, that's a massive help for his confidence. But defensively, this was actually a solid performance from United, and it's been a while, I feel like, since we've been able to say that. And a certain Martinez looked really up for the challenge, given the fact that this was one of the biggest oppositions that he'll come up against in the Premier League.
Yeah, and maybe that was one of the most surprising things about tonight, that Brentford, obviously it was a woeful performance, but they looked so disorganised. They didn't look like a team who had a full week on the training pitch with a new manager. And suddenly tonight they looked organised, they looked resilient, they defended really well. You're talking about quality players in Mo Salah and Bobby Firmino. These aren't sort of middling Premier League players. These are some of the best players in the world. And United really, for most part of the game, have kept them quiet. And you've mentioned there Lisandro Martinez, and he does deserve special credit, because he's come in from Ajax. He's enjoyed a lot of criticism really after two games. Yeah. He was singled out for criticism after the Brighton and the Brentford games. Ten Hag has kept faith with him today, and really Martinez has showed why United wanted to spend 50+ million to bring him here, because really in his first real test in the Premier League he's played brilliantly. Not just his positioning, the way that he was aggressive when he pushed out into midfield, his passing, his comfort on the ball, everything really showed what a good player he is. And it is hard to come in and sign for Man United. It's hard to adapt. He's taken a lot of criticism, as I said, and really he'll have reminded everyone tonight what a good player he is.
And when you see performances like this from Manchester United, the fans are tempted to start to believe again. And I always say you want to see where it's not turning a corner into a wall. What did you see from today, if anything, that suggests that might not be the case, or that Ten Hag is taking the club in the right directions? I know it's still early.
I don't want to say turning a corner, because I've spoken to you a number of times and
we've
said,
we turn the corner, we've seen
and then
many corners.
And straight back to square one. I think really the most important thing, bar the result, obviously that's massive, but it looked like a Ten Hag team.
Yeah.
It looked like the way that he has told us that he wants his team to play, and that was missing against Brighton and Brentford. And that was one of the worrying things about those games, not just the result, that they didn't really look like they had a plan. And I actually think that even if Liverpool tonight had scored a late equaliser, it had finished 2-2, I think United fans would have gone home happy tonight anyway, because they would have seen that Ten Hag is really trying to put his stamp on the team. He's trying to get them to press, he's trying to get them to be more energetic. And we saw all those things tonight. We didn't see it at Brentford, and we saw it tonight. And I think that the United fans that are going home tonight will be most impressed with that. Obviously, it has to carry on. We're 3 games into a season. They are, they've only won 1 game. They've lost 2. That they're still, they're nowhere near where they want to be.
Yeah.
But United fans will have seen a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, this is the right manager for this team, and he can get this team back towards the top of the Premier League table. And
talking about Liverpool right now, uncharacteristic Liverpool, really and truly, because you mentioned about, having a plan at Man United, seeing them perform many times, looking like they didn't have a plan. Liverpool, especially in the midfield, sometimes looked like they didn't almost know what they wanted to do, and that has sent some people into panic stations. It is very early on in the season. If it's one man that can get this team right, of course, it's always Jurgen Klopp. But what did you make of the Liverpool that we saw today?
Surprised, honestly, because a lot of the talk has been about Man United, but Liverpool haven't started this season well either.
Yeah.
And Jurgen was particularly critical after the Fulham game that his team didn't really seem ready, and you'd expected some kind of response after that. There was a suggestion by some of the Liverpool journalists that, again, they didn't really look ready for what is a huge game, and that will worry Jurgen Klopp. He won't be worried in the sense that he's 3 games into the season. Obviously, he's still got players to come back. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. It can be difficult at the start of the season, particularly when you're playing in the Premier League and the intensity is so high straight away. But he will be worried. He should be worried, because this isn't the start to the season that we expected Liverpool to have. We expected them to be City's main challengers, and already they're dropping points and falling behind. And I know that seems silly. It seems silly because we're still in August. It's still 3 games, but we've seen, City in particular have been so clinical with the way that they've gone about their business. They don't drop many points. I know they dropped at the weekend, but they don't lose many points. They don't lose many games, and already Liverpool are behind. And Liverpool will know that if they are going to win this Premier League title, even if they're going to challenge, they're going to need to put a string of wins together very, very quickly. And even judging by Jurgen Klopp's demeanour after the final whistle, it seems like there are issues to fix there.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.